Finally, on this point, Sergeant Bergwall, there are a lot of questions about how he originally was captured and whether or not he had deserted, had left his post. Is that going to be investigated? And if it's found that he did indeed leave his post, will he be disciplined or has already paid the price?
Certainly, anybody who's been held in those conditions in captivity for 5 years has paid an extraordinary price. But that is really not the point. The point is that he's back. He's going to be safely reunited with his family. He served the United States with honor and distinction, and we'll have the opportunity eventually to learn what...
Obama was willing to pay a steep price in exchange for Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. The Guantanamo Five are top Taliban commanders, and the group has tried to free them for more than a decade. According to a 2008 Pentagon dossier on Guantanamo Bay inmates, it was disclosed by WikiLeaks, all 5 men released were considered to be a high risk to launch attacks against the U.S. and its allies if they were liberated. Mullah Mohammad Fazl is Taliban's former deputy defense minister and is wanted by the United Nations for his role in massacres targeting Afghans' Shiite Muslim population. Mullah Narullah Nouri was a senior Taliban military figure directly subordinate to Taliban's supreme leader, Mullah Omar. Nouri led troops against U.S. and coalition forces and is also wanted by the UN for possible war crimes, including the murder of thousands of Shiites. Abdul Haq Wasik is a former deputy minister of intelligence. Mohammed Nabi Omari held several military leadership posts for the Taliban. He helped organize the al-Qaeda and Taliban militias that fought against U.S. and coalition troops in the first year of the war. Nabi maintained weapons caches and supported extremist activities by smuggling fighters and weapons. Nabi maintains strong ties to active networks. Khair-ullah Karikwa, a former Taliban governor of Herat, was considered by the Pentagon's 2008 dossier to be a likely heroin trafficker and a major opium drug lord in western Afghanistan, and he likely participated in meetings with Iranian officials after 9/11 to help plot attacks on U.S. forces. The dossier says the detainee claimed to be a longtime friend of Afghanistan's President Hamid Karzai. According to AfghanistanAnalysts.org, Karikwa is the most senior of the 5 on the list. He is one of the fraternity of original Taliban who launched the movement in 1994. In other words, he is someone who will still command a great deal of influence and respect among today's insurgents.
So the fact that that attacks definitely were more directed and calculated, it's incredibly suspicious to me, although there's no way to prove that Bergdahl was feeding them information, whether he was tortured or whether he was giving it on his own accord.
Tell me about this. You said you had gotten intelligence that Bergdahl had been seeking out the Taliban and looking for somebody who spoke English so he could talk to somebody in the Taliban. Where did that information come from?
Yes, as obviously in the wake of him leaving, we had almost like every asset that you have available to you in Afghanistan was in the area searching for him. There is equipment that they can listen in to radio communications, cell phone communications between people. And there was teams monitoring that chatter. I was standing right next to the radio when they heard that there's an American in a village called Yayakale, which was about 2 miles from where we were at. And it's a village that has a very, very large presence of Taliban. That the American is in Yayakale. He's looking for someone who speaks English so he can talk to the Taliban. And I heard it straight from the interpreter's lips as he heard it over the radio.
The mayor of San Marino is apologizing tonight after he was caught on video throwing a bag of doggy doo into his neighbor's yard. The incident was captured by a surveillance camera on Saturday. Mayor Dennis Kinnear confirms that it is indeed him in the white shirt and green shorts flinging the bag of feces without even stopping. The owner of the property, Philip Lau, says the mayor has since sent him an apology letter, but it still doesn't explain why he did it.
And now for something completely different.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. This is the online Fastener Talk Show where we split the signal from the noise and explore all those normally forgotten nooks and crannies of the industrial fastener world. Hi everybody, Eric Dudas here, and riding shotgun with me is a man who's known as the fastest code slinger this side of the Cumberland Gap. He's also a man who can sling a pretty good spinnerbait. He's Brian Musker. Hey Brian, how you doing?
Yeah, a little better at a spinnerbait than I am at code at the moment, I think.
Sorry to hear that, but on the other hand, we're going fishing pretty soon. And hey, everybody, thanks for joining us today. We'll be here with you, along with the occasional incursion by a certain fastener canine, probably, bringing you predominantly fastener-related programming during this episode 83 of Fully Threaded Radio, which we're publishing on a beautiful June 12th, 2014. So we're going fishing again, Bri. It's that time of the year.
I can't wait now. I'm sort of sick of programming and all that stuff.
Don't say that. You just need a little break.
Actually, I need quite a big break.
Well, you're going to get one because we've got 8 days coming up in the bush, and it always does a soul good.
Yes, I know. Very.
As does a strong lineup of fastener programming, which is exactly what we have for you today, folks.
Right.
Our feature segment is a conversation with none other than fastener rock star Simmi of Stelfast. She's got some good commentary, as usual, on what's going on in the fastener industry, including some updates on her perspective on the Taiwanese plating situation and what that means to the industry. She's also got some news about a new entity called the Fastener Education Foundation. She'll fill us in on all of that. We've also got big and dramatic news coming on Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report. This time, as always, joined with Holden Lewis to report on the Fastener Distributor Index. Took quite a jump this time, or should I say a jump back?
Yeah, a drop.
Yeah. We'll hear all about that on the Fastener News Report. Also, we've got a new feature today. Carmen Vertullo of the Fastener Training Institute will be joining us. He's going to present a new feature called the Fastener Training Minute, and that's being done in concert with the Fastener Training Institute. I think people will find this to be a very worthwhile segment going forward, more solid content for Fully Threaded. And in just a few moments, we're going to speak with Robert Rodgers of Base Standard Manufacturing. He is a very interesting guy, a guy who nearly escaped the fastener industry, but as we know, that's easier said than done.
Snuck back in just in time.
That's right. And he's got some thoughts on the anti-dumping litigation ongoing, having to do with threaded rod, among other things. So it's a very strong lineup, once again, Bri.
Right. And we have a strong lineup of sponsors. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast and Trinity Hardware Headquarters. Stelfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. And Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, Volt Industrial Plastics, Fastenal, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. Folks, if you need any fasteners, make sure you give preference to our sponsors because they're the ones who help bring you Fully Threaded Radio.
We really do have a dedicated lineup of sponsors, always looking for more, but thankful for the ones that we do have because they've stood by us. And we're thankful that you are listening in because, hey, that's why the sponsors stick with us, let's be honest. So thanks for joining us, everybody. And before we put this one into high gear, Bri, I'd like to make an announcement. We mentioned when we were running down the lineup of today's episode that we have kind of a sub-theme going, and that has to do with fastener education. Well, Bri, we are honored to be working with the Fastener Training Institute, I guess by virtue of that, also with the Fastener Education Foundation, and we're going to be supporting a scholarship, which is going to send some lucky individual in the fastener industry to the Fastener Training Institute Fastener Training Week, which is going to qualify them to sit for the Certified Fastener Specialist exam.
Great, yes. Something we think is a great attribute to anyone in the fastener industry.
Yes, it is. And it's a very generous gesture on the part of FTI to allow us to participate in this. The upshot of it is we're going to be receiving essays, or we hope to be receiving essays, which we are now soliciting from anyone in the fastener industry. These things should be about 250 words in length. They should express the importance of fastener training in the industry or the impact of training on the candidate's career. If you know somebody in your organization who you think should be taking part in this scholarship, you can certainly nominate them and submit an essay on their behalf. The email address to send essays to will be ftr@fullythreaded.com. That's, of course, our address. We'll be evaluating them along with the lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey, who is pretty good at this sort of thing. And we'll be making the announcement of the winner at this year's Bourbon Room Fastener Bash, which is, of course, the after event at this year's Las Vegas show. That will happen this year on October 23rd, 2014.
Right, and it will not require anyone to get up on the stage to do it, I don't think.
Well,
especially not to have other people take movies of them.
Let's not jump to conclusions, Bry.
Oh, okay.
So suffice it to say, everybody, details will be forthcoming on future episodes of Fully Threaded. We'll also be putting a press release out, which I'm sure you'll be able to get wind of at the all the usual suspect fastener media outlets. But the deadline for the essays is going to be October 15th, so everybody, you've got a little bit of time to think about this. But we're going to try to get as many candidate essay submissions as possible and really give the FTI some good fodder for their marketing. Anyway, it's going to be good for everybody involved, and one lucky and deserving individual is going to go to Fastener Training Week.
Right. Now, just because it's a little bit in the future doesn't mean don't do anything about it or try and leave it till the last minute, okay? Because that isn't really how this stuff works.
Yeah, you should know, Brad. People in the fastener industry, they're not big procrastinators.
No. Right. Okay.
One other detail on all this, I was talking with John Walkman, who's heavily involved with FTI, as most of you know, and he indicated that next year, and this is an exciting development, they'll be offering at least one version of Fastener Training Week on the West Coast, one in Cleveland, and then they also intend to have one on the East Coast, which is new for them. So there will be pretty good coverage. The winner of this will have their choice of which one they attend.
So go for it, okay? If you think you know someone who would really benefit from a whole week of training, then put them up to it. Okay.
Take that cast. You never get the big ones unless you keep casting, right, Bray?
Right. Yeah, I have to keep reminding myself of that when it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon and I haven't hit a follow.
Well, those muskies are hard to get, but they're worth it when you finally hook them. And again, folks, we're so excited we can hardly keep our minds off it. So before we go to our break here, Bri, I got one for you. What do you call a fish with no eyes?
Blind.
That's pretty good. That's one answer. Another answer might be fish.
Oh, God.
We'll be right back, everybody.
Right.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stelfast. Since 1976, Stelfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stelfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stelfast today through our website at www.stelfast.com and put us to work for you. Stelfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Ah, Iowa. Field of dreams, Hawkeyes, corn, the only state that starts with 2 vowels, and the home of Trinity Hardware Headquarters. What's so special about Trinity Hardware Headquarters? How about the fact that offering 30,000 types of fasteners just wasn't enough variety? So they've added new lines of packaged clamps, rib neck carriage bolts, and plow bolts. And who doesn't need new plow bolts after this winter? Trinity Hardware headquarters also has over 600 cushioned clamps made in the USA by KMC, 18 sizes of ribbed neck carriage bolts, and over 40 sizes of plow bolt kits. And that's just the new stuff. They're still stocking their 400,000 square foot warehouse top to bottom with screws, nuts, bolts, washers, fittings, just about any fastener you could possibly need. And you can order 24/7 online from trinityhardwarehq.com. Or call 888-232-1010 anytime. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
First, there was fire, and man said, "Fire, good." Then there was the wheel, and man said, "Wheel, good." With the invention of the wheel came the need for fasteners, and man loudly exclaimed, "Buckeye, good." Buckeye Fasteners, providing quality products since the dawn of man. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company, proud fastener show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt Beer, official beer of the Traveling Salesman. Tell 'em Grog sent you. Ugh.
You can't beat one-on-one personal meetings to maximize business opportunities, and that's exactly what NFDA Executive Sales Planning Sessions are all about. Hi everyone, this is Kevin Rydell of Hodel Natco and the NFDA, inviting you to join us in New Orleans June 17th through the 19th for our annual ESPS meeting, where one-on-one interaction with suppliers and potential customers will be our focus. If you're a longtime member, or if you've been thinking of joining the NFDA, I encourage you to attend this exciting meeting. In addition to high bandwidth interaction and other fantastic fastener industry business content, this meeting will feature a full complement of social opportunities, taking advantage of the best of the Big Easy, the historic city of New Orleans. Take a look at the NFDA website at www.nfda-fastener.org for details, and plan to attend the annual NFDA ESPS meeting June 17th through 19th. I hope to see you there.
I need 5,000 3/4 10 by 9 and 3/4 grade 8 zinc yellow tap bolts right away, but they're not a standard size.
Solution Man Ken. I carry a wide variety of sizes and I can quickly cut them to any length. See Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Using your bare hands?
I do use a saw on smaller parts, actually.
Hi, this is Cleon with Base Standard Manufacturing, your complete source for all domestic all thread, and you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, your online fastener amigos, back with you. Hey everyone, you can get with us at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. We're also occasionally out there on Twitter under the handle Fully Threaded. Always good to hear from Fully Threaded listeners.
Right. And we have a Facebook page where usually is supporting information that you about things we mentioned in the site. Eric puts that up there.
That's true. I hate to do it, but we do. Hey, we mentioned we're heading up north to do a little fishing pretty soon, Bri, and we'll be missing this year's MWFA tabletop show. But I'd like to advise all you out there, please don't miss it. It's happening June 23rd. And I tell you, it's got to be the biggest show or the biggest event outside of the Vegas show.
Yep, it is. And it's a lot of fun too. And there's all sorts of other things going on. Plus the chance to catch up with all your friends and business acquaintances.
You can get all the details about this year's event at the website www.mwfa.net. That's Midwest Fastener Association. And while you're there, please do stop by the FCH Sourcing Network booth. Say hi to Sue Rice and the lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey. They'll be working the booth for us in our stead. We've also got a new face to add to the team, and we'll be introducing you to her later on in the show. We've got a little mini segment, I guess you could almost say. It's actually more of a commercial, but Jody Elizabeth Jeffrey will be joining the team. We're partnering up with her company, Brooks Jeffrey. They're a marketing company located down in Arkansas, actually, and they've got just a very, very good content management-based web framework. And people in the fastener industry, I think, are going to find this pretty interesting, especially if you're a smaller company or a mid-sized company that needs to revamp your web presence. There's a lot of smaller distributors out there that fall into that category. And we've put together something that we're calling Fastener Quick Site. And one of the really cool ads of this, it's kind of a feature, is that if you go ahead and set your website up with this tool, you can also put your query up there using a very similar search interface to what we use at fastenersclearinghouse.com. It's got that same search engine that's powered by our scrubber software. It works great, and we've added an inquiry system onto it so that your users can submit RFQs. We're calling it FCH Quote Builder. And these tools all put together, Fastener QuickSite. Jody Elizabeth will be there to explain it to everybody at the tabletop show, and she is just a great person to get to know regardless. She's a lot of fun.
And has a good southern accent too. Gives me a run for my money with my Texan accent.
Yes, that's true. You're like brother and sister, aren't you?
Right.
Yeah, it is definitely something that catches your ear, as you'll hear if you stay tuned to the show and you hear this promotion that we'll be running later. But she's a great gal. Her team is really something else, too. She's got about 30 people that work on this framework and on the graphics and the content. I mean, it's a comprehensive thing. We'll be expanding on this. She's also going to be joining us this year in Vegas, Bri.
Cool. That'll be good.
Yeah. So, again, that's the MWFA Tabletop Show coming up June 23rd.
Right.
And the FCH booth will be operating in full force, even though we won't be there.
Right.
And as you might have gathered, we are the people who bring you FastenersClearinghouse.com, everybody. That's the FCH sourcing network. And it's a giant online resource. I hope everybody's taking advantage of it. It's free to use. There's over 1 million listings. And anytime you need a hard-to-find part, a fill-in, something like that, get out to FastenersClearinghouse.com. And if you're looking to move some inventory, give us a call. We'll get you set up, and we'll make your phone ring.
Right. Just note, that's fasteners with an S, okay? Plural, 10,000 lines, right?
And the S is for safety.
S is for scrubber.
Yeah, but we're all about the safety too, folks.
Oh, okay. Right.
Hey, as you duly noted before the break, Brian, one of our great sponsors, one of the title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio is Trinity Hardware Headquarters. Got a note here from the chief over there, Dan Zender. He's got some exciting news. They opened a new warehouse on June 2nd in Roanoke, Illinois. It's 47,000 square feet they're adding to the firepower at Trinity.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't stop. They've also added a whole range of ribnet carriage bolts to their line, and they've got them in grade 5 zinc-plated, among others.
Okay.
He also mentions that there's some big news coming late this summer, and I would not be surprised if it had something to do with another location that they'll be opening, although that's just a guess.
Right. Probably a fairly good guess, I would think.
Yes.
Dan?
And finally, and I guess you'd have to know Dan to really get the humor in this one, but he's wanting to know if anyone out there is interested in cheese curd-shaped hex nuts.
What?
You know, Dan is from Wisconsin, so...
right, I know.
Anyone interested in cheese curd-shaped hex nuts, please contact Dan Zender immediately.
Right, yeah, right. He's got a special run on them.
Trinity Hardware Headquarters, you know, they've got darn near everything else you're ever going to need, so why not that?
Right.
And another one of our favorite guys from Wisconsin, well, I guess probably formerly of Wisconsin now, Bri, our buddy John Butler of K&L Sales. Boy, we were friends with him for really pretty much ever since we started FCH, and most of you probably know, especially if you follow Twitter. Oh, wait, Bri, did you catch wind of this?
Oh, no. Yeah, no. This is all news to me. What is it?
Well, John actually announced his retirement, which, you know, he seems like he's too young of a guy for that, but I guess the upshot of it is that he has left K&L Sales. He's picked up his stakes along with his wife, and they are moving out to, I believe it's the Portland area, and we'll have to see what becomes of them. I mean, I've heard a couple of different stories from him and other people, but boy, hats off to you, John, because you're a young man and you're doing something new.
Well, we'll miss them, actually. I mean, for many reasons, friendship and someone to talk to, but hopefully we'll maintain some sort of connection to him.
Well, I think that's almost because I did see a tweet out there as he was leaving on his final day. He mentioned to everybody that he plans to see everybody at this year's Vegas show. So even though I don't know that he has necessarily a place to land once he's out there in the Portland area, I think that he has every intention of staying connected. So that's a good sign. I mean, let's face it, you don't easily get out of this industry, right?
No, you don't.
How many times have we talked about that?
Right. Yeah. Has its clutches.
And in the meantime, folks, don't hesitate to get with K&L Sales. There's still good people up there. Our buddy Marty Myers is going to be manning the phones, I'm sure, among others. And their website is klsales.com. They'll take care of you.
Right.
Well, Bri, speaking of people who nearly left the fastener industry, we've got someone joining us now who fits that bill also. He's Robert Rodgers with Base Standard Manufacturing, and he almost pulled it off, Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when the market crashed, it was a pretty tough time for domestic producers. So I just took a little time to explore some other opportunities that I had.
Well, that's a pretty good story. You've told it to me before. Welcome to Fully Threaded. We've always had interesting conversations in the past, and we have always wanted to get you on the show. So why don't we kick things off with give us a summary about what were you doing when you were out of the industry?
Well, I had the opportunity to go into business with a couple of my golfing buddies, and did that for a few years, and they decided that they wanted to sell, and we all cashed out. It was a rather fun 2 years.
And what kind of a business was it, Robert?
We were we had a lead generation kiosk system that we developed, and primarily along the software lines. Myself not being a techie, I was tasked with seeing what we had, who would buy it, and who would use it. And I found a suitable suitor and sold it all. So we got in and got out, and we didn't become rich, but we made a little bit of money.
That's the American dream right there, and you're back where you belong, which is the fastener industry. How do you describe your specialty within fasteners? I know Base Standard does a ton of threaded rod. Where do you see your niche in this business?
Well, Base Standard, we're kind of a unique company. We're old school. We have a large manufacturing facility in California, which is kind of strange in itself, right. But that's where our plant is. That's where our plating facility is. And we've, over the past 50-plus years, we've been blessed to have great customers and do business with a lot of companies that no matter what the material situations are, when we had steel shortages and when price increases, they've always wanted to stay with domestic product. And that's kind of been the cornerstone of our manufacturing side. You know, we import a lot of fasteners from China, and we've always kind of joked around that we were always the reluctant importer of fasteners. We started it in the 70s just because our customers demanded it to go with, started off as nuts and washers to go with all-thread rod, and over the past 30 years, it's migrated into the full line of low-carbon fasteners.
Did you ever think about advertising in the link, maybe with the headline, Base Standard, we're the reluctant importer?
Well, maybe that would have been okay in the 70s and early 80s, but it's kind of matured to the point where we have a huge stocking warehouse in Northern California, and you combine that with our all-thread and our stud business. And a lot of people don't realize it as well as we're one of the largest producers of square plate washers. We probably stock close to several hundred different sizes and keep all the blanks to make hundreds of other sizes in stock. So kind of the go-to guys for special square plate washers. And nowadays, square plate washers fit in perfectly with our pre-cut threaded rod business.
Right.
A lot of importers have tried it in the past to carry all the pre-cut lengths, but the availability and waiting 60, 90 days from your shipment to come from overseas doesn't work when we can turn on the machine and make any length somebody wants in hours, not months.
Right. Now, obviously, advertising isn't your bailiwick within the company, so what's your role at Base Standard?
I'm in charge of our large national accounts and new business development, and a lot of projects for the owner.
Very cool. Now, we've had conversations about this, and so you're kind of primed for this, I know, but why don't you lay on us, if you could, your take on the current state of all this anti-dumping. We got a couple of suits, as I understood it, right? One was from India, one was involving China. Tell you the truth, it's kind of lost in the haze for me, but where does all this sit right now?
Well, 5 years ago, we decided to participate with the anti-dumping suit initiated by Vulcan, and through our cooperation with them, and was successful in winning an anti-dumping suit against China for selling threaded rod in the United States below fair market value. And we decided that we would partner with them again with a suit against India and Thailand, because basically a lot of the threaded rod business was diverted to those countries. And our final hearing was about 3-4 months ago, and we just received last month a rejection on our suit against Thailand unanimously. And we left the hearing, high-fiving each other because we thought it was a slam dunk. We did everything that was required to prove the selling of products into America below fair market value. And it was a total shock to everybody in the industry that the suit, that the duties were lost. We're still waiting to find out about India. That information, that final determination should probably come out in the next month or so. But I don't think it's had a significant impact on the industry as a whole, because the prices from those two countries are just not that much below the price from domestically produced threaded rod. So we're hoping it's going to have very little impact on the industry.
So you're expecting the verdict on India within a month or so, you think. Was there or was there not one of these suits going against China as well?
Well, the China suit was one, but we're due for what they call the review of it, which we are obviously actively pursuing, because China's the only country that we really fear, because they have the ability to, with subsidized slave labor and government subsidies, freight subsidies, they have the ability to ship steel into America cheaper, finished product, cheaper than we could produce it. So that's the danger, and it's part of their strategic program to really dominate certain business sectors.
Right, and to shut down the steel industry, except in China too.
Interesting choice of words there, Robert. Let me ask you this: when do you expect some resolution to that suit?
I'm not sure of the full time frame on that. That will we don't anticipate any changes in that, but you never know. The climate of Washington, D.C. being what it is, you don't know what to expect. When you're doing an anti-dumping suit, there's so many agencies involved that you don't know what the outcome's going to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, just to be clear, who are the plaintiffs in this? It's you, Vulcan, who else?
And All-American.
Okay. Now, I think one of the things that we've talked about this on the podcast previously that people fear would be retroactive duties. And I think this is one of the big knocks against these kinds of suits. Should they be successful, then people are always worried they're going to have to pay for product they've already received. Apparently, in the case of Thailand, you said that's not going to be a concern. India, we really don't know. China's even more up in the air. Is that pretty much your read on it?
Yeah, well, as of right now, the Chinese producers are subject to the duty, and they will be until anything changes.
Yeah, but these are duties that were already handed down from the previous litigation.
Correct.
Right.
Those are still in effect.
Got it.
Whereas opposed to Thailand, obviously they're not going to have duties. But the nice part about, if there's a silver lining in this process, it's that other countries look at it like, wow, we've got to really see if it's in our best interest to sell below fair market value into the U.S. if there's this chance of a suit like this being launched against our industry, which would basically cripple their business model if their primary goal is to ship all this material into the United States. So it doesn't matter if it's threaded rod, if it's nuts, washers, screws, nails. I think more countries are policing their own industry to the point where they're not going to deliberately sell far below fair market value as determined by ITC rules.
Is far below the operative word? Clearly there's an interest in them selling below because they all want to get into the U.S. market.
Well, there's precedent on determining what's below fair market value. To win one of these suits, you have to show several things with several different agencies being involved. You've got to show that you are being harmed. You have to develop the fair market pricing strategies, which involves divulging material costs, cost to manufacture, cost to transport. It's extensive. To say it's extensive is an understatement. And then you've got to collect data from other suppliers and from these countries. And the beautiful thing is that most of the costing data is all available because it has to be completed in your 10+2 paperwork when you're an importer of record from whatever country you're bringing in the material. Which kind of brings up another thing when you were talking about a lot of distributors that were importing directly were fearing the retroactive duties, is that there was so much transshipment of products from China through other countries, and U.S. Customs has all that data. And us as an industry, we are very frustrated with their inability to pursue those companies that have brought in transshipped threaded rod. Kind of give you an idea, the imperial inch sizes that we use in America, they're not really used in Europe. So when customs officials are in China and they're watching Chinese factories make, 1/2-13, 5/8, 11, 3/8 rod, it's pretty much all destined for the U.S. market.
Yeah.
And the interesting fact is they have all these records of containers of threaded rod coming from other countries that don't produce any threaded rod. They have no plating facilities. They have no large-scale wire manufacturers to produce threaded rod at a cost that's going to even be close with the domestic market. And the industry as a whole, we are so frustrated that nothing has been done to, find these companies. There's been a few cases that have resulted in serious fines levied, and most of that was for misrepresenting their threaded rod as other parts. And most of them, I don't think there was any criminal fines assessed. Most of it they passed off as just administrative errors on
just a genuine mistake. They thought they had a big manufacturing plant down the road, but they weren't really sure.
Everything has an HTS code assigned to it.
Well, Robert, I hope that you'll keep us abreast of what's going on. You could be our eyes and ears from the perspective of the domestic threaded rod manufacturer. Tell us what else is going on in the world of threaded rod, or what's related to base standards business that's got your attention these days.
Well, we're busy right now. We're very grateful and blessed that so many companies rely on us to produce their threaded rod. And I say threaded rod, it's not only the 10 and 12 foot lengths that people are accustomed to. It's all the studs, the U-bolts, the pre-cut rods, replacing anchor bolts, It's been good. We are busy, and we are very grateful that within the last year or two, a lot of high-profile cases concerning the quality of parts has brought to light how important it is to actually have a producer who will stand behind and test and verify that the parts are correct and they meet the specs as required. And that's been the significant growth of our business.
Well, you got to like that.
Did you find that you benefit from people, specifically requiring domestic supply?
I don't know if it's so much of it has to be domestic as availability and the knowledge that the product's been tested and is stood behind by a domestic company, not a mystery company that's located in a mystery country.
Harry Moser would love to hear this, okay?
Tell me about it.
Oh, well, the quality issue is, we can, beat on our chests and we can do a lot of things, but it really comes down to the customers that feel like they're lost a competitive edge. And that's the only redeeming quality of this import alternate rod that floods the market, is that it's a little bit cheaper than the domestic. And when I say a little bit cheaper than the domestic, it's really only a little bit cheaper than the domestic material when you're the master importer importing it yourself. By the time it actually lands in the hands of a distributor and OEMs and all the companies that are using it or reselling it at the second level, it's pretty much the same price as a domestic rod.
Okay.
Total cost of ownership, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. Harry Moser again, yeah.
Yes, that's right, that's right. Hey, Robert, let me ask you this. You're back in the industry in a big way. You're going to make your way out to the Las Vegas show this year?
Oh, yeah. I was at Las Vegas last year, walked around, saw a lot of people that I knew. It was definitely good. It was nice to see that the show had a little more turnout than it did. I think the last show I was at was in 2006.
Oh, yeah. Based on that, it was back in a big way. Yeah. Now, you got any picks for this year's color for the Stelfast monkey?
The color for the Stelfast monkey?
Come on, you haven't been out of it that long.
No, I know. You can't pretend it.
I haven't. I'm going to have to call Doug and find out what that's all about.
Well, why don't you do that? And in the meantime, we're going to be making our guesses. Coming up later in the podcast, Simmi will be joining us from Stelfast, and she's got some news on that one. But in the meantime, people can get a hold of you, Robert Rodgers, through the Bay Standard website, and that is baystandard.com. We wanted to have you on the show for a long time, and sure do appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah.
Hey, I thank you guys for having me on.
Hopefully I'll be able to catch up with you at the show this year. I tried a little bit you were sort of doing a bit of gadding about the show last year.
Yep, it was a busy show. It was definitely a busy show.
Right.
We'll be right back with more Fully Threaded Radio.
Once you're in this industry, you're not getting out. Good thing there's Fully Threaded Radio. Talk radio for the fastener industry.
Mick Jagger once said, "You can't always get what you want." Well, that's just not the case with Trinity Hardware headquarters. You can get what you want, and you can get it fast. With over 30,000 varieties of fasteners and new lines of package clamps, carriage bolts, and plow bolts, you've entered Fastener Paradise. Trinity Hardware headquarters also provides a long list of services to complete your fastener experience. New services such as custom packaging, kitting and polybagging, mill shipments, hold and release in pallet or quarter keg shipments make Trinity Hardware headquarters your one-stop shopping destination. They also offer secondary services such as patching, machining, drilling, coatings and platings, and parts to print or industry standards. You know, Mick also complained about not getting any satisfaction. He just hasn't yet come to Trinity Hardware headquarters. And don't forget, you can order 24/7 online from trinityhardwarehq.com or call 888-232-1010 anytime. Trinity Hardware headquarters for parts done right.
There are plenty of great-looking, high-functioning websites in the fastener industry, but let's face it, lots of fastener distributors have sites that leave something to be desired. Hey everyone, it's Fully Threaded Radio co-host Eric Dudas here, asking a very simple question. Does your website need a fast and cost-effective upgrade? If so, I have great news for you. And I'd like to introduce you to Jody Elizabeth Jeffrey of marketing company Brooks Jeffrey.
Hi, y'all. This is Jody Elizabeth, and we're so delighted to be partnering with the FCH team to bring an all-new fastener distribution website solution to the industry. It's called Fastener QuickSite. Everyone in the fastener industry knows FCH, and Brooks Jeffrey has been in the marketing business since 1984. We started working with fastener websites such as the Fastener Connection in Houston and Southwest Fastener Association. Then we met up with the guys from Fastener Clearinghouse.
That's right, Jody. Your team does a fantastic job of providing great-looking, easy-to-navigate websites for small to mid-sized businesses. And your content management engine updates make it as simple as can be. Fastener QuickSite brings all of these features to fastener distributors. It's fast, full-featured, simple, and affordable.
Thanks for saying so, and I agree. That's why we have hundreds of websites now in service across a broad array of companies and organizations. Better yet, for the fastener industry, we've created a website package that uses the FCA Quick Catalog and Quote Builder. This allows fastener distributors of every size or technical ability to compete online by presenting their inventory listing on the web, but at a small fraction of the cost and with much less complexity of a full-blown e-commerce.
Hey folks, stay tuned to Fully Threaded Radio, as we'll be talking a lot more with Jody Elizabeth about the many benefits of Fastener QuickSite for fastener distributors who need to move to the next level with their web presence. Until then, Jody, how can people contact you?
I'd be delighted to hear from any Fully Threaded listeners who need a fast and affordable website upgrade and who'd like to have the power of the FCH search interface right on their own website. So call me at the Brooks Jeffrey main office, toll-free number 800-506-8064. That toll-free number is 800-506-8064. Looking forward to hearing from y'all.
Thanks, Jody. It's good to be working with you and your team on Fastener QuickSite, a much-needed website solution for the fastener industry. For more, the number once again is 800-506-8064. Hope to hear from y'all real soon.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. Our on-staff engineering department can assist you with product development and provide total technical support. Our knowledgeable sales team members offer superior customer service and are here to answer any questions you may have regarding our products. Having a hard time finding a part? Let our sourcing specialists do the work for you to locate those items. We offer competitive pricing with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
Hello from your friends at KDS Imports, where you can count on knowledgeable, dependable service. Please visit us at www.kdsimports.com. You are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Hey, bro, I got an email here from our old buddy, Andy Pells.
Oh, wow. Well, the missing in action Andy Pells, you could say.
Yes. He of ScrewCrew.com, or perhaps formerly of ScrewCrew.com, not sure. We got to reconnect with him. However, we've got the Fastener Distributor Index coming up, as most of you know, on the Fastener News Report, and we sent out our typical missive that we always do when we get the results. Well, I made a little bit of a goof on this one in terms of the date, and I said pick up the results on the April Fully Threaded Radio. Of course,
right.
Andy didn't miss a beat. He sends me this email. He says, I know you guys are busy, but do we really have to wait 10 months for the next FTR episode? Har, har.
Thanks, Andy.
Yes. We'll try to do better next time.
Right. It's nearly as bad as me getting the Z's and the H's and Dan Zender's name in the wrong place.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that necessarily achieved the level of, screw up of the week, but, we use those very sparingly, but it was close.
Yeah.
Rule number 1 of online Fastener Talk Radio, get your sponsors' names spelled correctly, folks.
Correct. Yes.
Bri, I'm developing a deep and abiding hatred of Facebook in general, and Mark Zuckerberg in particular.
Which part of him don't you like at the moment? Okay. Which part do you find particularly odious?
Yes. Well, now that you ask, I think what it must be is that his Washington and his Wall Street buddies have his puny little arm twisted so far behind his back. I think they're trying to wrest some of his ill-gotten, undeserved wealth. And right now they've got him supporting this fake advocacy group called Americans for a Conservative Direction, which is a pro-amnesty for illegal aliens. And they're running all these commercials on television now, apparently. This is the worst possible kind of betrayal. It's treasonous. And he's behind it, a little sniveling. Oh, I don't even want to get into it. Now, having said that, I posted a link up there on Facebook for everybody, folks.
Yeah.
And I recommend that y'all take a look at it. It's a story about AmazonSupply.com, and it was in a recent Forbes. And, you can go out there and Google it. Headline, Amazon's wholesale slaughter, Jeff Bezos' $8 trillion B2B bet. And now I know a lot of people in this industry, they think that Amazon.com is Amazon Supply is kind of a yawn. We've actually done FDI survey supplemental questions on that, Brian.
Right.
But, they are doing a PR blitz lately. And as a matter of fact, I was talking to one of the editors of Industrial Distribution Magazine earlier today, Jack Keogh. He was recently doing some webinars, and we're kind of building ahead of steam to get an FTR segment on this subject going. But it's definitely well worth a look, folks. It's a very good story, and if nothing else, even if they don't encroach on fastener distribution, they're definitely working with a head of steam and a pocket full of money. So you better take note of what's going on with AmazonSupply.com, in my opinion.
Yes. Jeff Bezos, you cannot discount him, even though it's fair to say that Amazon hasn't really made any money. It continues to lose at a fairly alarming rate. But there are things about Amazon that we all come to love, and it's clear that why the book industries have gone into a big hole, Amazon simply made it easier.
Absolutely.
They've not done the same with the Amazon Supply and their interest in the fastener industry, though.
No, they certainly have not, and they're not necessarily even poised to. But all you have to do is look around the brick and mortar book industry, and they've just decimated it. They're, I guess, what you call the classic disruptive force in the market. Where they're actually making all their money is in web services and cloud services. That's the only profitable unit of Amazon.
Right.
But what they're doing is they're positioning themselves, and they're going to be the last guy standing, at least in terms of books. There are probably areas of wholesale distribution where they're going to be able to achieve their objective as well. Again, I'm not saying that our space necessarily is going to work for them, but this is definitely something to watch.
Yeah. I've tried to find stuff on them, and I actually gave up. But the problem is you can't really search for anything in any logical fashion.
Are you saying they would benefit from using the scrubber?
They would benefit a lot from having any way of finding anything. Okay.
Exactly my sentiment. Well, the Fastener News Report is coming up, everybody. And, of course, as always, it's sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics. Got a note from Heidi Voltrauer, she of Volt Industrial Plastics, and also the All-American Fastener Show.
Right.
She's busy getting things ready, even though it's happening still a year and a half away. There's always a lot of work to do to plan something like that event. This year, the All-American Fastener Show is happening in Nashville, Tennessee. She's pointing out that people are already booking rooms, and apparently the Sheraton in Nashville is the official meeting place for the show this time around. So if you're considering going, I bet you can get some really good rates if you book early, and this is early.
Right.
We'll be keeping everyone abreast of that. They're also getting the golf tournament ready, she says in her note here. And the website for the All-American Show is allamericanfastenershow.com.
And you can bet that I'll be there.
Make sure you bring 2 shirts because you're going to get spots all over your shirt if I know you.
Right. No, it just means you do not wear white, okay? That's what I've learned.
As noted, the Fastener News Report is brought to us today by Volt Industrial Plastics. Also, Fastenal. The other great sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast, Trinity Hardware Headquarters, Buckeye Fasteners, and Solution Industries. Home a Solution Man. Thank you so much for listening in, everybody. We really appreciate it. And now, here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored today by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. School is out, the days are getting longer, and thoughts are turning to vacation, baseball, and barbecue. And here in northeastern Ohio, I am on jury duty this week. But do not fear, because I am keeping at least one eye focused on the fastener industry and today's Fastener News Report. In our top story, we're going to get the May 2014 results of FDI, also known as the Fastener Distributor Index. Also in today's report, we have newsmaker headlines from Solar Fastener Expert, Acme Industrial Company, Solon Manufacturing, Hudson Fasteners, Desert Distribution Sales, Fastener Tech 15, and the MWFA. On the back page report, we're going to talk about the Asian evolution of exhibits at fastener-related trade shows. We will get to all of that and the Fastener Distributor Index results for May right after this.
Whether you need a small or large number of fasteners, there is no reason why you should have to sacrifice quality or service for that matter. Volt Industrial Plastics takes great care with each and every order to ensure you receive a quality fastener in a timely and affordable manner. Our state-of-the-art production equipment allows us to produce any quantity you request quickly and efficiently. And with same-day shipping on nearly 1 million in-stock fasteners, we carry an inventory so you don't have to. Visit us online at voltplastics.com to find out more about our quality American-made products. Volt Industrial Plastics, manufacturer of the finest plastic fasteners in the world.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting fastenal.com today.
In this economy, I need to cut cost and freight or I'll lose my customer.
Solution Man, Ken. The more you order, the more you'll save. With free freight on orders over $1,000. See the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
Mike McNulty.
In May, the FDI took an uncharacteristic nosedive to 47.8 after posting an all-time high of 59.3 in the previous month. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by BB&T Capital Markets and the FCH Sourcing Network, and it seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener industry. To get the story on this sharp turn south, Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets is joining us once again to share his analysis. Since I'm on jury duty this week, Fully Threaded radio host Eric Dudas is sitting in for me to get to the bottom of these numbers.
Holden Lewis is a senior analyst for BB&T Capital Markets. He joins us now to dissect the May FDI numbers. Hey, Holden, welcome back, and it's been a long time since you and I had an ear-to-ear conversation, so to speak. Welcome back.
That's right. Well, I appreciate, as always, you having me, and I doubt a different questioner will in any way diminish what we're trying to do.
I certainly hope not. You and Mike do a great job, and of course, I'm always on the board when you guys are talking, but I'll do the best I can.
I'm sure you'll be great.
Well, the headline of the May FDI numbers is the drop to 48.7 in May from 59.3 in April. So can you break that down for us?
I can, and let me say first off that the note that we put out that some of your listeners may have gotten may have had an incorrect number for May. The number you cited for the FDI, that 48.7, is in fact the correct one, and obviously by the definition of any diffusion index, that would suggest that May was a weaker month than April, which came in at about 59.3. Now, if you recall from the April show, we did kind of say that 59.3 felt a little bit strong to us. It feels like the market has gotten a little bit better, but that seemed rather dramatic, and that we would not have been surprised had May come in from that level. And in fact, we got exactly that. That said, I'm a little bit surprised that we kind of went sub 50. I'm not sure that, again, that fully reflects where the market is. And, with an index like this, the way we're sort of compiling it, I always think sort of smoothing and averaging has some value. And, kind of when you look at the way that this index has been trending, we've just sort of been in that low 50s range. And, I would not be surprised when we put together the June number if we see that 48.7 step back up to be north of 50 and begin to again reflect really just kind of a moderate growth environment. And that I think is continuing to be reflected in a lot of other indicators. We track industrial production specifically as it relates to the industrial world. And industrial production, quite frankly, it's actually been down, I think, 3 of the last 5 months. And versus 6 months ago, it's really, pretty flat versus where we were 6 months ago. So we're growing a little bit, but, it's not like we're growing rampantly at this point. But it is still, at the same time, it's still an environment where there's some mixed messages. And, I'll note to you that whereas the FDI was somewhat weaker and whereas industrial production continues to be, really sort of at a low level of encouragement, by the same token, the PMI numbers and the MBI numbers, which are specific to metalworking, they've gotten somewhat better. They've been more consistent in recent months, but they've been somewhat better, and that should be a good leading indicator going forward. And then I think this is a fair time to bring up one company that's particularly relevant to the listeners, which is Fastenal. The May daily sales rate that Fastenal publishes, this has been the first month this year that we are unencumbered by weather or holiday timing. And Fastenal put up a very good growth number of about 13.5%, which is nice acceleration off of the April number. So, I think you can see a couple of things. The first is the various indicators that are pointing in a direction from a macro standpoint are still pretty mixed. Things are still growing, but it's not clear at this stage that you're seeing any sort of dramatic shift in direction one way or the other. The second is, speaking specifically about Fastenal, is why are they growing so well at this stage and others aren't? This is a topic we brought up before, Eric, where we've talked about in a stable environment, the best thing you can do is invest in your business. And I would note that Fastenal has been investing more heavily in new salespeople, vending machines, etc. And what I would probably suggest is that in an environment where growth is not rampant, they're making a lot of investments that is beginning to contribute favorably to their overall growth rates. And that's something we've talked about being strategically a wise thing at these levels, not being afraid, but rather going forward with investments. I think that you're seeing some of that payoff in an otherwise slow market in what Fastenal's numbers are coming out to look like.
And I also thought it was interesting that in the report you noted that the 3-month averages for the FDI, PMI, and MBI were all really in the low 50s, so all kind of running in a pack and taken on balance. The May FDI, the poor showing, really probably is not that much to get concerned over.
Well, I think that's right, and that's sort of the smoothing that we talked about. And it's not just the FDI, right? If you look at the MBI, which is specific to metalworking, in January that index was 54.2. In May it was 53.7. So you can see again from January to May that index is not telling us that much has changed. And if you sort of smooth it, as you said, take a 3-month average, it's kind of in that 53 type of 53, 54 type of range and stable there. And the FDI is very similar. I think if you take 3-month averages of the FDI, April, May, by virtue of the strong April reading, is actually above where we were in February and March, which would suggest a little bit of improvement relative to the very beginning of the year. So, I'll look forward to getting the June numbers, but I think it is entirely appropriate to sort of, anytime you're using month-to-month numbers, I think it's entirely appropriate and responsible to kind of take an average of 3 months or however is appropriate and sort of track that, because there can be in any index, and particularly as we see in the FDI, there can be some volatility. So, yeah, I still think the indicator is pointing up. The arrow is not pointing straight up, but I think that the arrow in all of these indices continues to point modestly up.
Makes sense. Now, having said that, and in light of two components of the report. Number one, sales fell off drastically in May from April, and I guess that component of the index was the one that really kind of helped push it far down. But on the other side of the coin, we saw optimism, at least in the near term, in terms of what our distributor respondents are expecting, to be very optimistic. What do you think is driving this optimism?
It's been a long cycle, and for those that are sort of in the muck every day, you'll recall that back at the end of 2012, people were very concerned that you were going to be having sort of a double dip, if you will, in terms of end market demand. And the fear actually in the market was pretty palpable. I think as you move through 2013, the early part of 2013, you began to see some stability in terms of sentiment. People weren't exactly enthusiastic about the future, but they certainly were, they didn't have the same fear they had at the end of 2013 or end of 2012. But by the time you got to the end of 2013 and into 2014, I think that having put enough distance between themselves and that 2012 period of concern, I think people are starting to feel better. Not necessarily that things are going to go crazy here, but that at least the downside seems to be covered. And this is something that we've seen from respondents all the way through this. Again, this month, 52% of respondents continue to think that the performance 6 months from now of their markets will be better than it is today. That is 5 times higher than the numbers who are pessimistic, which is about 10% of the respondents. So as long as you have that much of a difference between the optimists relative to the pessimists, that's really telling you that they're positive. And again, I think on some level, I think it has as much to do with simply, the fear has begun to dissipate, and in its place has filled sort of an acceptance of where we are. But you also ask a question, I think, that gets to end markets. We've talked a lot about industrials, and I think, the industrial market is sort of been one of the growing markets, growing very slowly. I also am beginning to sort of hear dialogue from companies that the non-residential side is beginning to come up. And, typically non-residential will follow the residential side. Residential has been doing fairly well now for a year or more. And I'm just hearing from more and more companies that we're finally beginning to see a little bit of upward wiggle in the non-residential side. So the other thing that we might be seeing in these outlook statements is simply that people are seeing a bit of a broadening in terms of how many markets that they're touching that is doing somewhat better. And so as that broadening occurs, the enthusiasm, I think, gets somewhat more entrenched. So I think that's a bit of what you're seeing as well.
Okay, well, we'll take that and we'll keep our eye on it. I have to tell you this, Holden, in all the months and months and months that we've been doing this survey, this one stands out in my mind as the one in which the most people said, what are you talking about? We had a great month last month. I don't understand where this number came from. So let's hope that this optimism becomes well, it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy, but let's hope that it unfolds that way. Let's move on to the supplemental question for May. It dealt with the effects on pricing from several industry trends. What did our respondents tell us?
Yeah, so what we were asking of our respondents was simply, we have noted a number of trends that could lend themselves to fastener companies beginning to get some improved pricing down the road. And I think at the beginning of the year, we began to see a little bit of a more favorable pricing environment. Pricing kind of seems to be in the 2% range on an annual basis across the respondent pool. But, we've of late seen, obviously, the consolidation of the master distribution channel. We've seen supply shortages that appear to be showing up, for mid and high level fasteners related to plating capacity in Asia, And we've seen nickel prices going up, which affects stainless. And so with so many things sort of out there right now that could be squeezing capacity or pressuring price upwards, we wanted to find out what people sort of were thinking about prices going down the road. And about 58% of respondents. I should say now, obviously, we only give a set number of options. I think we gave 4 potential options for respondents to respond to. And the reason we do that is simply because there would be no way to measure it if we allowed everyone to add their own nuance to the question. And so our questions really sort of split into 2 different categories. One was either these things aren't going to matter or they're already in my pricing decisions, so they won't matter anymore going forward, or they were, these things have yet to ripple through, and I think over the next 3 to 6 months you're going to see anywhere between 0% to 6% type pricing. And those are sort of the options that we provided. 58% of respondents expect that because of these things, we are likely to see somewhat higher pricing going forward relative to where we are today. Now, that may be temporary, or what have you, but at least the pressures that people are seeing, they do expect to sort of lead to some additional pricing power going forward, which is obviously welcome. Now, the only place, based on some of the comments that were made from the respondents, the only place where that seems, sort of unarguable is on the stainless side. Several people sort of commented that stainless pricing seems to have only one way to go, and that's up. And I think that does relate to the nickel prices going up. I think the question is a little bit more nuanced in the steel side or the carbon side, because whereas it seems like there's some pressure on the mid and high level fasteners, you actually might be seeing some lower steel prices on the low end carbon fasteners. And so it's perhaps a bit more nuanced there. But 58% of respondents think that the things that we're seeing in the market right now could very well lead to some pricing. Of course, these fasteners tend to sit on the ocean for 6 months until they get here. So it's, we'll still have to sort of wait and see. But in an environment where we've seen pricing go up a little bit, I think that it's encouraging that, that people think that the bias is still higher rather than lower.
I'd like to point out to fully threaded listeners that coming up in the podcast, Simmi of Stelfast will be joining us. She's got some interesting comments on a variety of situations, including the issue of Taiwanese plating and its effect on the market and others, so stay tuned for that. I also found it interesting, Holden, that you noted some of the comments that our FDI respondents put along with their surveys, and I'd like to thank all of the respondents who do that. That information is really valuable. It doesn't necessarily always reflect directly in the number that we put out, but it is very helpful in assessing really the pulse of the market, don't you think?
I really think it does. We always encourage people to write in what they're thinking, because again, we can only give a certain number of categories so that we can try to measure sentiment accurately. But to the extent that someone has more to say, trust me, it gets read, and we do appreciate the nuance that those answers give. So we are always appreciative of that. And, if we don't specifically mention it, know that it certainly goes into our analysis and our impressions of the data overall.
So I'd like to thank all the FDI respondents. You do a service to the industry. It takes only about a minute every month to participate. If your company is not doing so, please, we encourage you, get out to the website, www.fdisurvey.com, register your company, and we'll shoot you an email when it's time to respond. Let your voice be heard. Holden Lewis, you are a senior analyst for BB&T Capital Markets. You do a great job for us every month. You have a column that appears in each and every issue of the Fastener Technology International magazine, recaps everything that we talk about here in the report. You do a wonderful job on that. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank you, Eric. You did a great job.
Eric Dudas, passing it back to Mike McNulty.
Next up, today's top Fastener Newsmaker headlines. A leader in the solar fastener industry, Solar Fastener Expert, based in Corona, California, is now an authorized distributor for Hellermann-Titan's solar fastening and identification products. Solar Fastener Expert was launched in 2010 by the same team behind Mudge Fasteners, which is also based in Corona, California. Acme Industrial Company, a subsidiary of Juergens Incorporated, and a major manufacturer of drill bushings, thread inserts, and related products, is celebrating its 100-year anniversary. Founded in 1914 in a small building just down the road from Wrigley Field in Chicago, Acme's products have varied during the past 100 years, but they have always focused on the metalworking industries. In other anniversary news, Solon Manufacturing Company is marking its 65th anniversary this year. With 50 employees and 2 product lines, Solon serves its broad customer base with Belleville springs and pressure switches. Since moving from Solon, Ohio to nearby Chardon, Ohio in 1960, Solon has expanded its operations 3 times, most recently with the purchase of 2 buildings last year to add nearly 25,000 square feet of manufacturing space. As part of the National Small Business Week, Gil Goldberg, the District Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration's District Office in Cleveland, Ohio, recently recognized local businesswoman Lisa Kleinhandler, third-generation owner of Hudson Fasteners Incorporated, with the 2014 Northern Ohio Jeffrey Butland Family-Owned Business Award. Hudson Fasteners is based in Youngstown, Ohio. Desert Distribution Sales, LLC, a manufacturer's rep agency based in Scottsdale, Arizona, has announced that Joe Morris is joining the Desert Distribution team. John Walkman, president of Desert Distribution, told us, "It's great again to have the opportunity to work with Joe. After graduating from Arizona State, she began her fastener career working with me at Copper State Bolt and Nut. It's taken a while, but I finally had the chance to get her back." Morris is based in the Denver, Colorado area, and she will support the company in the Rocky Mountains and beyond. And our top fastener newsmaker headline is that Fastener Tech 15, the 5th staging of the all-fastener industry concept and fastener trade shows, will include space for a new technology center section, which will be reserved for suppliers of materials, tooling, and machinery for making all types of fasteners. This integrated exhibit section will be open along with dozens of fastener, distributor, and user-oriented exhibits. The new Technology Center will also be the site for a special happy hour event for all attendees on the opening day of the show, which is just 1 year away. Nancy Rich of co-sponsor Midwest Fastener Association will have details and contracts on Fastener Tech 15 at the upcoming MWFA Tabletop Show in Illinois later this month. Finally, let's turn to the back page for a report on the Asian evolution of trade show exhibitors. I attend a large wire product manufacturing show every 2 years in Germany, and it has a large hall dedicated to equipment, tools, and materials for making fasteners. When I started going to the show over 20 years ago, the biggest represented exhibitor countries were Germany, Italy, and the USA, and several other European countries. In the beginning, there were 0 Asian countries in the top 10. Today, Germany, Italy, and the USA are still major players, coming in at number 1, 2, and 4 respectively, but now there are 4 Asian countries in the top 10, China, Turkey, India, and Taiwan. Turkey and India broke into the top 10 in 2004, and they have been rising steadily to the number 5 and 6 spots this year. Taiwan is more of an up-and-down story. They broke in at number 7 in 2008, moved up to the number 6 slot in 2010, but they dropped down to 10th place this year. I think that this fade for Taiwan will continue. Now, not surprisingly, China is on the most aggressive growth path. It debuted in the number 6 spot in 2008, and since 2010, it has occupied 3rd place, posting an average growth rate of over 48% per show. We see similar Asian growth in the USA distributor-oriented shows, especially from China, and we also see this growth rate in European distribution-oriented shows. But I don't think that the Chinese growth rate can be sustained. I expect that China will level off soon on the manufacturing and the distribution side, and maybe it will even burn out like Taiwan seems to be doing on the manufacturing equipment side. Time will tell. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Remember to send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at McNulty@FastenerTech.com.
Sure, you could stop listening right now. On the other hand, you could stick an ice pick in your eye. Both bad ideas. Stick around. It's fully threaded.
When
top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stelfast. Since 1976, Stelfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stelfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stelfast today through our website at www.stelfast.com and put us to work for you. Stelfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Fastener friends, if you're looking to celebrate a big sale, or if you just want to unwind after a tough day on the job, do it with the golden brown goodness of Old Rusty Bolt beer. It is the finest tasting beer in the Fastener world because Old Rusty Bolt beer is brewed specifically to satisfy the palates of Fastener folks everywhere. That name again, Old Rusty Bolt beer. An Old Rusty Bolt added to every bottle to enhance flavoring. Get some today. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and Yohana and Bolt Company, official Fastener show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt, the preferred beer of the traveling salesman. Tell them Rusty sent you.
This is Rick Peterson with All West Fasteners in Seattle. I want to invite all of you to the Pacific West Fastener Association Fall Conference in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, August 6th through 10. Recreational highlights of the conference will, of course, include golf at the world-renowned Coeur d'Alene Resort Golf Course. This is the course with the famous floating green, which you reach by a shuttle boat. A boat will also take you from the resort to the golf course that morning. Later that evening, we're all invited to the lakeside home of Ron and Heidi Stanley for a welcome reception. The Stanleys are always very gracious, and this will be a great time. Spouse and guest activities will include options for a hands-on experience at a working art class studio, a nature hike, and an all-huckleberry event by resort chef Tyler Schwenk. For more fun, the final day of the conference will wrap up with a rubber boat regatta, a race on the lake with 3 crew members per boat. My favorite features of Pac West conferences is always the educational programs, and we have a great lineup this year, featuring Anne-Marie Huff-Tailing and Carmen Bertullo. There will be other educational presentations as well. And consistently highly rated are our traditional Business Owners Forum and Business Executives Forum, a chance to exchange ideas and learn business practices from your peers. These sessions are always energetic and productive. I also want to recognize our conference sponsors, ND Industries, Brighton-Best International, WCL Company, Umbraco, Ababa Bolt, InSequel Software, Empire Bolt & Screw, and Fasteners, Inc. You can find more information about the conference at pacwest.org, and I look forward to seeing you all August 6th through 10th.
This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Institute, and this is your Fastener Training Minute. Every experienced structural bolting supplier has war stories about things that have gone horribly wrong with structural bolt transactions or installations. Those fastener suppliers who only dabble in the structural bolting niche soon find out about the inherent risks associated with supplying structural bolting. Not only are there more risks, they're different from those found in other fastener product categories. This is Carmen Vertullo from Carver Consulting and the Fastener Training Institute with the Fastener Training Minute. I'll be right back to explain more about how to avoid the pitfalls of structural bolt supply.
The Fastener Training Institute's purpose is to enhance fastener use, reliability, and safety through the highest quality training at all levels. Hi, this is John Walkman, inviting you to learn more by visiting the FTI website at www.fastenertraining.org. The FTI is offering several classes across the country during July. On July 8th, Understanding the Bolted Joint, which is a one-day course and part of our Certified Fastener Specialist track, will be offered in La Mirada, California. On July 15th is the one-day course Product Training Part 2, to be held in Los Angeles, California. Then, on July 28th through August the 1st, in Cleveland, Ohio, it's Fastener Training Week, co-produced with the Industrial Fastener Institute. Students completing this 5-day session and passing the final exam will be awarded their Certified Fastener Specialist Certificate, something everyone in the fastener industry should consider. For more information or to contact the Fastener Training Institute, our website once again is www.fastenertraining.org. Now back to the Fastener Training Minute.
Here we are back talking about structural bolt supply. One aspect that can make structural bolt supply a particularly risky endeavor is that the supplier, whether a distributor or a manufacturer, is at the mercy of many different entities. Everyone from the raw material supplier to the job site bolting installers and special inspectors can create a special kind of hell for the unaware structural bolting supplier. But it doesn't have to be that way. A well-informed and educated supplier with a well-developed risk management system can learn to avoid these pitfalls. In doing so, they become a superior supplier because as they protect themselves, they also protect their customers and the projects their customers erect. So what are these pitfalls, booby traps, and unexpected nightmares, and what are the resources suppliers need to avoid them? Well, let's look at a real-life example. In one recent structural steel building application, the job was almost shut down because the project special bolting inspectors believed that 9 different lots of tension control bolts, called TC bolt, assemblies did not meet the required tension specifications. The bolts were various sizes and from 2 different manufacturers. The special inspectors insisted the bolts could not be used on the job, and those bolts already installed had to be removed and replaced. To make matters worse, this was on Thursday and concrete was scheduled to be poured on the floors with the suspect bolts on Monday. Suppliers aware of facts about structural bolts know the mere description of this problem shows the issue could not possibly be with the bolts themselves. Suffice it to say, the supplier's awareness made it possible to bring a quick, decisive solution to the problem and keep all of the bolt lots on the job. A key element to bringing a positive outcome to this situation was that the supplier was able to go to the job site with the expertise and equipment necessary to analyze the problem and make a case for his customer, the structural steel erector, to keep those bolts in place. The supplier's technical expert quickly was able to discern that the problem had to do with the special inspector's tests, not with the bolts. Using their Skidmore-Wilhelm bolt tension calibrator, the supplier proved that the special inspector's bolt tension calibrator was being and had been used improperly. This caused their test to produce the erroneous result. The stop work order was rescinded and the job continued on schedule. In this case, and in many others like it, fastener knowledge saved the project, the customer, and the distributor lots of pain and expense. The Fastener Training Institute is dedicated to educating the fastener industry to reduce the occurrence of this type of situation, or better yet, to head off situations like this long before they can cause problems for everyone along the supply chain. This has been Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute.
Hi, this is Kimberly Kendall with Aztec Lock Nut Company, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you on the online fastener flamethrower, Fully Threaded Radio.
Some flame.
Fastener flame.
Okay.
And it's great to have the participation of the Fastener Training Institute with us. We've wanted to get something going with those guys for a long time. Earlier in the podcast, Bri, of course, we were talking about a special thing we're going to have. We're going to have more details about this coming in subsequent episodes, but it's going to involve a scholarship to the FTI as well as the Bourbon Room in Vegas.
Wow. Those things go together very well, I would think.
Oh, you better believe it. And actually joining us now is somebody I think we're going to bump into at the Bourbon Room this October at the Vegas show. She's returning to Fully Threaded, and she, of course, is the rock star of the fastener industry and fastener pundit extraordinaire, Simmi. Hey, welcome back, Simmi.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Brian. Nice to be on again.
Yeah, well, we're always glad to have you. Of course, you're coming to us from Stelfast headquarters in Ontario.
Yes, up in Toronto today.
Always a good place to be, assuming the ice is off of Lake Erie by now.
Well, I was just going to say, definitely a nice place to be when the sun's shining, and it is today. So
Good. Ours too.
I only mention it because I recently read a headline. We're recording this in early June, and they were saying that there's going to be ice they're expecting on Lake Superior till like early July.
yeah, it definitely was an amazing winter up here, I have to say that. Happy to have it behind us.
Yes.
Well, let's get into it. We just heard from Holden Lewis expounding on this month's FDI reading. Actually, it was for May, and we took a little bit of a drop. I know you at least had a chance to take a glance at that. 47.8 was the reading. Was that a surprise to you?
I think it is lower than I would have expected it to be. I think that the market's more positive than that's showing. But I'm not sure the market's as positive as April was showing, though. So does it smooth it out? Is it just a snapshot in time and June bumps back a little bit? We'll have to sort of see. I think June will definitely bump back up. But I'm not expecting it to get back up to April's numbers again.
No, that seemed a little high to us too. It was a bit of a ride in a roller coaster, and this is a continuation of the roller coaster. So maybe we'll have to see what Holden does with this, seasonal smoothing, because it maybe something isn't working correctly or it's working perfectly.
Well, and is it that snapshot in time where, in April, as more and more news comes out, delays overseas, plating issues overseas, don't forget freight rate contracts normally come up around this time as well. People concerned about whether they're going to get product or the price of their product, up their buys, up their usages, up what was going on in April, and now in May they're sort of sitting back a little bit. That's what June's going to sort of show us.
Okay, it makes sense.
So we've hinted at the climate a little bit here. What do you think about the climate overseas, to mix metaphors?
Climate here is sunny. No.
Right.
The climate overseas is, at least I feel it's somewhat predictable right now. We know where delays are coming in from. We know where we see some pricing going up. So at least I feel that we have a lot of knowledge of what's going on. That being said, who knows what might blindside us tomorrow. But I feel that we're going into this fairly well educated. Everybody's heard, I'm sure on your podcast, they've heard, online, they've heard from other importers with regards to a lot of the plating issues that happened overseas. And I think the reason it got so much press and time was because it coincidentally happened in China and Taiwan, both at the exact same time, which affected supply coming out of both of the countries. So there were definite bottlenecks, some increases in pricing for plated material coming in as a result of that. On top of that, in Taiwan, there's been increase in utility costs. So production, heat treat, those types of things are more expensive than they used to be.
They're not destroying their CO2 plants over there, are they?
Oh, of course not.
I mean, they're coal plants.
It's one of those. It's one of those things where we know what's going on and we know where we're seeing pricing increases. Steel has stayed stable. I'm talking about carbon steel and alloy steel. I'm not getting into stainless steel because that's definitely been very volatile.
Right.
But the increases we know are coming out of utilities, plating bottlenecks, heat treat. And then the next part that we've got to sort of wait and see, we have some visibility on, is that we know there's going to be delays. There are delays because of bottlenecks in plating and heat treat. There's some delays because, you're hitting your summer months in China, and that can mean rolling blackouts and limited electricity. So I think you're going to see some delays coming out from that as well, which could affect some of the supply chain in the United States. We're different than the distributors who listen to your podcast because we are an importer. We're not a distributor, so we carry a significant amount of inventory on the floor, prepared for any delays, those types of things. So hopefully we've planned appropriately and we're not going to see much of an issue. But for some of the distributors who try to keep their inventories leaner, this could cause some problems coming forward.
Well, Stelfast being one of the major importers into North America, I mean, you're really in the catbird seat on this. And I wonder if you could roll back for a second and really break down, in your view, what actually transpired there in Taiwan to cause this this plating issue, and maybe give us an outlook as well, because I think there's a lot of confusion on what happened and what it means going forward.
So I'm going to try and give you a summary on it, because I tend to get fairly long-winded with this story, because I do find it very interesting about what's going on.
Good.
Might make for a very long podcast for some of your listeners.
Proceed, barrister.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of the fact that the government, through however it happened, caught wind of environmental issues that were being caused by how some of the plating facilities were handling their operations, and that there were contaminants going into water flows over there. And as a result, did a huge crackdown. Every plating facility, every heat treat facility started going in. How are they doing things? Tightening up legislations, enforcing things more. As a result, you sort of ended up with 3 tiers. You ended up with you're in complete violation, we're shutting you down, you're not opening up again. You ended up with you're doing a 50% good job, you need to upgrade this equipment, this process. You're shut down till you clean all of that up, and then you can open up again. And then you ended up with the other tier, which were the tiers that were green flagged and said, you're fine, keep going, doing what you're doing. So in anything where you've got supply and demand, you take supply of plating lines and you reduce it by a percentage, and all of a sudden you have huge bottlenecks. And you also have increase in prices. For those who shut down, they've gone away. We've got a reduction in the number of people we can go to for plating now. For those who stayed and had to upgrade, capital expenditure. They don't have this money lying around to just spend it out there and not worry about recuperating. They've got to go up, spend their money, improve their facilities, and guess where they're going to get the money back from? Your plating prices are going up. And then they've got to catch up for the time that they were shut down. And then the people who were green flagged and were fine, well, they were already busy. Now they have everybody else's business coming to them. You have bottlenecks. And if you've got a customer who's never come to you before, never supported you before, and now all of a sudden says, I need my plating done, you're going to look at them and say, maybe I want a couple more % than I did before.
Sure.
So it had a huge effect that way in causing disruptions. Depending on where your supply was coming from, it could be an issue.
Could you refresh my memory? When did this bomb drop?
Beginning of the year.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because it was I was in Taiwan before Chinese New Year, and they were already talking about all of this at that time. I don't have the timeline in front of me, but I would have to say beginning of the year.
Do you have a feel for how many of these platers have come back online and how many of them are still out?
I don't have a count to know that. Obviously, our knowledge gets limited to our exposure in production overseas, and if there's a lot of electronics factories or small screw factories that we may not deal with in different locations, I'm not sure what type of exposure they've had and how their platers are doing. From our exposure of who we're importing from, the bottleneck is there now with regards to if a supplier quoted you and budgeted 3 days to plate your part, they're now budgeting 2 weeks to plate your part. So we know our lead times for new buys are pushed out a little bit, and we've compensated for that. But I would have to say that a lot of it's up and running fairly smoothly. What the count is of the number of people who are running plating lines today versus this time last year, I don't know. I don't know what the loss was. The difference, though, the difference is I can tell you that we feel it's up and running and smooth now. Our customers, the distributors who buy from importers and their customers who buy from the distributors, don't see the trickle-down effect of the cost that's been incurred from January till now until, mid-summertime.
Right.
And all the new inventory starts coming in and the rebuys go out, and now you're seeing the cost increase. Because don't forget, there's a big lag between a cost increase or a delay that we see and when the end user sees it. Because it goes through so many different people before it gets to an end user from us. Because we've got all our distributors in between.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. So I guess people should be looking to fasten their seatbelts on stuff coming in from Taiwan in certain cases.
That, and I think they have to understand that it's not a conversation that's going to go away just yet. For those of us who are importing, it's sort of settled down. The conversation's done. We know what's happened and we know how to accommodate for it. But for the person who isn't importing and is buying 3 or 4 steps down, this is still a conversation you're going to be having with them.
Right, and eventually it gets built into the equation. And then so rolling back to what you were saying about China, these rolling blackouts, which we've been hearing about, geez, forever. I mean, that's really built into the equation when you're talking about importing from China. But I have a question for you. I made a crack earlier, I guess a little sarcastically, given the current headlines, political headlines. And what you hear continuously is that all these coal plants are coming online in China. And you would guess that eventually that would lead to less of that sort of activity. But do you actually see anything like that, or is it pretty much business as usual in terms of factories being allotted their energy?
Right now, I think everybody is preparing for summer. So whether or not it actually happens, and in all honesty, each year we see less and less of it, but we always buy in preparation for these rolling blackouts, limited utilities. Does it really happen? Not to the same levels it used to.
Yeah. Also, coal is not the only way China gets power. Its plan is bringing online 6 nuclear power stations a year for the next 10 years, I believe. That's a lot of power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. But coal plants being so much in the headlines these days, and let me just take a wild guess and say that all their emissions are not going to be scrubbed to a fare thee well like ours are.
No, and they're getting usually dirtier coal. A lot of it's coming out of Australia, I think.
Well, real interesting analysis there, Simmi, and let's turn the page at this point. And I know you have some thoughts on the various acquisitions that have been going on in the market, a whole bunch of them actually. Our good friends over at Timberline got rolled into Worth recently. There are some others. What are your thoughts on all this? Do you see a spike coming? Do you see more? What are your thoughts?
I don't know about the spike in the acquisitions. I think what I look at and see is that there's been some high-profile acquisitions that have taken place. But none of the acquisitions that you read about, though they're all very different, none of them come from a company that was struggling, a company that was on its way out. None of these were sort of distress sales. These were people who came into the market and wanted to acquire companies that were doing well and that were, I'm presuming, profitable. I obviously haven't had access to any of those types of things. But I look at it and say that if there's people out there looking to buy good, solid companies in the fastener industry, it means that we're doing well.
Right.
You're not going to spend money on a company that's making money today if you don't think they can make more tomorrow.
That's a good comment.
Yeah, so I look at that and think that it's a good sign for our industry, for the distributors, that there's growth. And there's people willing to invest in companies at our distributor level, which means that they're foreseeing continued growth.
Yeah, that's a great point. Maybe it's because a lot of those fire sale types of acquisition happened, subsequent to, 08, 09, and a lot of those were just flushed out of the market.
Correct, but I think it's also, the one thing I really like about it is I believe in these cases, you weren't buying a company because you think it's going to do the same thing tomorrow that it does today. I think a lot of the acquisitions are happening because they're seeing growth in these companies and what's coming forward.
Sure. And we had Mark Strangquist of Worth on the podcast recently. And in that case, Timberline's a great company, and they were looking to expand their geographical footprint, among other things. And so different motivations here, fire sale not being one of them.
Correct.
Great point.
Yes, I think it shows that things are growing, things are improving, that there is continued growth coming.
Good. Well, we look forward to that, okay?
So I'd like to ask you something that may be a little bit touchy, but I know you're up to it. On the West Coast, Stelfast announced, 2 years ago or so, you got going in L.A., and that's been kind of a battleground area. But with the absence of Porteous now, it's certainly a battleground. We had Aaron Shushan on the podcast a couple of episodes ago, and he announced that, at least in the socket space, Umbraco is going to be making a play. Of course, they're going after the market leader in that area. And I'm wondering what your perspective is overall, as much as you can comment on that.
With regards to West Coast?
Well, the competitive mix and what you see on the horizon.
I think that's an interesting time because there are many opportunities for many people out there. And for those who really enjoy business and enjoying what they're doing, you have options as to where you want to grow and what you want to do next, whether it be increasing your footprint, increasing your product lines, however it is that you want to do it. So the great part is that for all of us as business people, there are new opportunities to be had. You're not doing the same thing you did yesterday, today anymore. So I think that the competitive mix is actually very good for all of us in the sense that there's a lot of new opportunities out there, and there's a good competition blend out there where we have to all stay on top of our game to keep growing our business. We can't get lazy about it. So you're still coming to work every day, working really hard, and on top of that, having the benefit of new opportunities.
I think that's good. Is that right?
Does that answer it? I'm not quite sure.
Well, there was no correct answer. I mean, I was just looking for your perspective on that. And frankly, I thought that Brian was going to chime in with some kind of a wise-ass comment about me showing up to work. But
oh, no, I wouldn't be saying anything about that, okay?
not on the podcast anyway.
No.
Well, thanks for that. I know it gets a little touchy when you comment on some of those things, Simmi, but that's why every time we have you on the podcast, we get a spike in listenership because you put it on the line. So thank you.
Thanks.
One of the things that's really been a buzz, I think, or at least it's getting a lot more momentum than it was certainly when we got involved in this industry, is fastener training. And, of course, we kicked off the segment talking about that a little bit, as well as the podcast today. And, there's a new entity. Of course, let me back up a bit. Recently, the Fastener Training Institute announced that it spun off from the Pacific West Fastener Association, and there were a variety of reasons behind that, but I think everybody agrees that it's a good thing. They're going to begin offering courses more widely, more frequently, I think. And there's a new entity out there to support that, isn't there, Simmi?
Yes, so there is the Fastener Education Foundation, the FEF, and it's working in conjunction with the Fastener Training Institute and has the goal to raise funds for fastener education to help promote education, public safety, knowledge of basically what it is we're doing on a day-to-day basis with these products throughout our industry. And I just think it's something that is so fundamental to what we do. The products that we make, buy, sell has so many functions in day-to-day life for all of us, and all the things that they hold together, that I think it's critical that as an industry that we're constantly keeping ourselves educated about what we're buying and what we're selling. It can't ever revert to just SKU numbers. There has to be knowledge behind what it is that we're buying and selling. And there's a lot of technology that is actually behind how these parts get made. So I'm really excited to be a part of this. I think fastener training is extremely important. And I think the industry is very, very lucky that we have the Fastener Training Institute that focuses on training. And it's not just, us as businesses who are doing it. It's an entity who specializes in it and knows how to do it well.
And it's got some good instructors too.
Yeah, the best in the business for sure.
Yeah.
But can you tell us a little bit about what's the structure of the Fastener Education Foundation? How does it lay out?
Well, for me, it's brand new. I was asked to be on the board for it, which I have joined, and really haven't gotten to the point now where we've started meetings or sort of guiding through what's going on. But I've definitely accepted the invitation to be on the board because I do think it's something that's really important. And I look forward to coming back on the podcast as this sort of grows and develops and giving you guys updates about what's going on. So that as an industry, we can all sort of contribute to this as well, because we've got some team members within this industry with amazing knowledge about the history of fasteners, about production, about what we're doing today and where they think things should go. So it'll be great to be able to sort of mobilize all of that and get that information shared throughout the industry.
Well, we'll look forward to hearing more about that. Fundraising for the Fastener Training Institute courses is definitely one of the high-ranking priorities, I understand. And just to throw it out there, it's really cool to see a lot of the other regional associations adding the FTI into their scholarship mix. A lot of them, as you know, have scholarship programs. Wi-Fi is another one. I think they took one of their 2 scholarships, and they're directing it towards FTI as well.
Yeah, which is great.
Yep. As I noted earlier, we'll be doing a little of that on our own and making an announcement of a winner. I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit more at the Bourbon Room at the Vegas show coming up in October. Hard to believe it's just around the corner. And over at Stelfast, you guys have a tradition, and something tells me that you're in the planning phase of monkey color selection. Would I be wrong if I thought that?
No, you're right. It's that time of year again to start planning for the trade show, and always the first thing on the to-do list for the trade show is to step back and say it's time for the new release of the Stelfast monkey, and what color will it be this year?
And so, do we get any hints this time? I mean, this is harder to penetrate than Bilderberg Group. I mean, you realize this.
Well, right now your guess is about as good as mine because we have not come up with a decision. We're actually going to spend the next couple of weeks talking about it within our company, but we also want to throw it out there to your listeners and say that, the customers, the industry have all been really great in sort of being receptive to the Stelfast monkey and collecting them throughout the years. So we want people, if they're interested, to tweet us and let us know what they think the color of the monkey should be. Hashtag Stelfast monkey and let us know.
I love it.
Wow. That's using Twitter. It's not my specialty.
Yeah, you're excluded. You don't have to participate.
Yeah, please don't hold your breath waiting for me, okay?
Now, does it have to be monocolor or monochrome, or can we do tie dye or camo stuff like that?
You can pick whatever you want, and then we will take a look at it. We'll make a decision as a team, and then everyone will have to make their way to Vegas to come down and see what actually got picked.
Okay, sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we always make our way to the Stelfast booth anyway, and I'm not just saying that because you're our oldest and best sponsor. We're always looking forward to that monkey.
No, and Vegas is always such a great time to get to see so many people in the industry you don't get to see on a regular basis. So we are looking forward to it, and there'll be a lot of work going into our planning for the show because it's a really important time for us.
Same here, and well said. Well, Simmi, you did not disappoint, again proving why you are a rock star of the industry. Thank you so much for joining us again on Fully Threaded.
Yes.
Thank you both very much. It's always a fun time.
For us too.
We'll be right back with more Fully Threaded Radio.
They're like more cowbell for the fastener industry. Brian and Eric. Fully Threaded Radio.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stelfast. Since 1976, Stelfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stelfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stelfast today through our website at www.stelfast.com and put us to work for you. Stelfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Iowa. Field of dreams, Hawkeyes, corn, the only state that starts with 2 vowels, and the home of Trinity Hardware headquarters. What's so special about Trinity Hardware headquarters? How about the fact that offering 30,000 types of fasteners just wasn't enough variety? So they've added new lines of packaged clamps, rib neck carriage bolts, and plow bolts. And who doesn't need new plow bolts after this winter? Trinity Hardware headquarters also has over 600 cushioned clamps made in the USA by KMC, 18 sizes of ribbed neck carriage bolts, and over 40 sizes of plow bolt kits. And that's just the new stuff. They're still stocking their 400,000 square foot warehouse top to bottom with screws, nuts, bolts, washers, fittings, just about any fastener you could possibly need. And you can order 24/7 online from TrinityHardwareHQ.com. or call 888-232-1010 anytime. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
Hi, this is Hugh Hewitt for the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund, www.semperfifund.org. Over the past 7 years, twice a year, the wonderful people who operate the Semper Fi Fund and many amazing Marines who have been the beneficiaries of the charities that have supported the Semper Fi Fund, including many thousands of individual donors, have come into my radio studio to tell their amazing stories of serving their country, of being wounded, and how the Semper Fi Fund has helped them make that transition back to recovery. Unfortunately, Bethesda and Walter Reed are full again. More and more men and women are coming back from the war injured, sometimes awfully so. We need the Semper Fi Fund to be there for these Marines and those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who served alongside of them. Please consider a gift to the Semper Fi Fund. Very low overhead, extraordinary capacity to get money where it needs to get in a hurry, and great management, including some of the senior Marines who've ever served under the flag. When you're looking for something to do that will make an impact, please check out the Semper Fi Fund. That's www.semperfifund.org, www.semperfifund.org.
Hi, this is Fred Wosecki from Abbott Interfast in Wheeling, your MS sword for all specialty fasteners. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, coming to you from the Fully Threaded Studios. And I should probably also say Muskie Fisherman Supply Warehouse.
Yes, that's a little bit what like my office floor looks like.
Well, you left a box full of your baits over here, and while I was waiting for that last promo to finish up, I was fiddling around with one of these things. I stabbed myself with one of your hooks, man. These things are like harpoons. How do you get them so sharp?
Well, it's very rare for me to have sharp hooks, as you know, because you're always bitching at me about the fact that I'd never do that. Must be brand new. I never have used it.
Oh, maybe that's it. Well, anyway, this crankbait, I tell you, you better tie it on because, man, you'll really stick them with it. Yes. Well, that was a great interview, as usual, with Simmi, and I hope everyone will chime in and let their desires for this year's Stelfast monkey color be known.
Remember, she's soliciting requests or suggestions.
I should have asked her how many years they've been doing this now. I don't know, but I can tell you this. It's getting to be kind of a habit for Stelfast to be having these monkeys at all the shows. It's almost like they've got kind of a monkey on their back with this thing.
That wasn't very good.
Well, it's the best I can come up with, you know.
Okay.
All I'm thinking about is fishing. So
okay.
Why don't we just take an opportunity to thank all the guests on today's show, and they were from Stelfast, Rockstar of the industry, Simmi. Also, from Base Standard Manufacturing, Robert Rodgers. Mike McNulty and BB&T Capital Markets analyst, Holden Lewis, had the FDI numbers and industry headlines for us today on the Fastener News Report. Great job, you guys. I had fun sitting in with you too, Holden. And Carmen Vertullo and John Walkman participated in our new feature segment, the Fastener Training Minute. Can't wait to see how this thing unfolds, Brian.
Right. Yeah.
The title sponsors on today's episode of Fully Threaded were Stelfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast. And Trinity Hardware Headquarters. Trinity, for parts done right. The others on today's episode of Fully Threaded Radio were Buckeye Fasteners, Fastenal, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. Hey, folks, get with us anytime at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. You can also send your FTI scholarship essays there. We're out there on Twitter sometimes, and the handle there is Fully Threaded.
Eric's out there more often than me.
That's a well-established fact, folks.
Right.
And we thank you so much again for listening in, everyone. Please share the podcast with your friends and your business associates. The show keeps growing, and it's due to that sort of thing happening, so we really appreciate it.
Right. And if I happen to make a spelling mistake, spelling one of our sponsors' names, it's not because I don't love you, okay? Apologies to Dan. I think if anyone would know how to spell what's essentially a type of Germanic name, it would be someone who spent 6 years in Germany.
Water under the bridge at this point, right? And speaking of bridges, we're going to be fishing around some bridges in the very near future. We'll be fishing rock piles, weed beds, main lake points, secondary points, back bays. And I think our minds are pretty firmly established there. I think we've made that fairly clear on this episode.
Right, and we have actually done a lot of looking around for some navigation device that we can use in our boat. However, the choice is now so wide that we haven't really worked out what to replace it with. So we've still got a crappy old GPS system.
Well, it's about 10 years old at this point, but I tell you, it gets the job done, and one of these years we'll rectify that. But, as I was thinking about how to wind down the show, and of course I'm driven to distraction with preparation for this big trip, I was thinking, how do we compare, or how do we cleverly tie this into winding the show down? And I came up with this. How do you measure the success of a fishing trip? And sometimes the only way that you can do it is what happens when you're across the flats, which cleverly is also a way that you measure the top of a hex nut, apparently, or a hex bolt.
Oh, wow. This is pretty Fastener-like for you. He's not into these things.
Poetic almost, isn't it?
I also, yeah.
And with that, we're going to put this one in the live well, folks. That'll do it for episode 83.
Oh, we don't normally actually put things in live wells because we don't keep anything we catch.
Okay, Brian. Well, it's thematic.
Oh, okay. Right.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah. Catch you next time.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws. We'll be catching some fish, and we'll talk to you next time.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
This is Rick Peterson with All West Fasteners in Seattle. I want to invite all of you to the Pacific West Fastener Association Fall Conference in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, August 6th through 10. Recreational highlights of the conference will, of course, include golf at the world-renowned Coeur d'Alene Resort Golf Course. This is the course with the famous floating green, which you reach by a shuttle boat. A boat will also take you from the resort to the golf course that morning. Later that evening, we're all invited to the lakeside home of Ron and Heidi Stanley for a welcome reception. The Stanleys are always very gracious, and this will be a great time. Spouse and guest activities will include options for a hands-on experience at a working art glass studio, a nature hike, and an all-huckleberry event by resort chef Tyler Schwenk. For more fun, the final day of the conference will wrap up with a rubber boat regatta, a race on the lake with 3 crew members per boat. My favorite features of PAC West conferences is always the educational programs, and we have a great lineup this year, featuring Anne-Marie Huff-Tailing and Carmen Bertullo. There will be other educational presentations as well. And consistently highly rated are our traditional Business Owners Forum and Business Executives Forum, a chance to exchange ideas and learn business practices from your peers. These sessions are always energetic and productive. I also want to recognize our conference sponsors: ND Industries, Brighton Best International, WCL Company, Unbraco, Ababa Bolt, InSequel Software, Empire Bolt and Screw, and Fasteners, Inc. You can find more information about the conference at pacwest.org, and I look forward to seeing you all August 6th through 10th.
I can't think of anything else to say at the moment, okay?